Hey everybody, just sending you a few words to encourage you to keep studying and keep at the exploration of the ideas, what you hold to be human nature, what you've learned is human nature, exploring your beliefs. One of the things I wanted to focus on today is that what we might call a traditional Western view uh, has a place for the soul. And most Texans and most people that I've met in Texas do believe that there is a soul. Uh, so we should probably explore that idea just a teensy tiny. I think it's actually never a bad idea to start off with the etymology of words in order to get an insight into maybe what people were thinking of when these first words started being utilized. There's a danger in that you'll get to a point where you start saying that what a word meant when it was first used 3,000 years ago is the only thing that word can mean. And obviously, over the course of 3,000 years, 1,000 years, a century, even a decade, a word that's coined and begins coined literally in the sense that it becomes currency, right? It's coined and it's used widely. That term will evolve and it will become sometimes the opposite of what it originally meant. That doesn't mean that that's the wrong meaning, right? What we're wanting to do in the study, in the etymological study, is to get back to the origin of the word so that we can maybe understand something that's hidden there, right? Something that's always already contained in the term, even when it ends up meaning the opposite of what it originally meant. In this sense, one good example is the word virgin. Originally, the word virgin meant someone who had not been married. So someone a woman who had never been married. It didn't mean a woman who had not had sex. It came to mean that over the course of time, both through the Mariology of the Virgin Mary and through just the passage of time, right? But another one, in one sense, is also this word soul. When you do an etymology, one of the first things you do is you try to determine, what is the word family origin, right? Every language, most of the languages in India, all of the way over to the different languages spoken in England, and from Iceland down to the tip of Spain, Italy, and Greece. These are all families that are part of the Indo-European language family, with the exception of one or two. What this means is that from the Sanskrit of India all the way over to English, from Icelandic all the way down to Italian and Greek, the languages that are spoken are highly related to each other in structure and sometimes even in just direct sound. If you're reading a romanization, that is words put into Roman letters, obviously Sanskrit does not look like most Anglo-European languages because they've been Romanized. Greek doesn't look like the Roman language either, right? So there's still the Latin language. At any rate, so when you take any of these languages and you Romanize them, you see very quickly that lots of words are related to each other, right? And if you know how to listen, you also can see that relation as well. Okay, so why am I going on about this? Well, because today I wanted to put forward with this notion of soul that all Indo-European languages pretty much have a word for soul, and that word is an onomatopoeia. Okay, so if you don't know what an onomatopoeia is, it's a really complicatedly long word, but what it basically means is that a word is spelled in a language according to the sound it makes, right? Or the word is itself the sound it's describing. So buzz, smack, right? Buzz, buzz, smack. We also have with soul then is an onomatopoeia, but what's it an onomatopoeia of? What is it? How is soul a word that in the Indo-European languages mimics some sound being made? Well, let's first turn to really the word that's doing a lot of work in Plato and Socrates for soul, and that word is psyche. Okay, our word psyche, which is the root of psychology and psychic and psychotic and all those things, our word psyche actually would have originally been pronounced in ancient Greek psyche. The Y actually has an I sound, right? And then it starts with the PS, and yes, you do actually do some kind of, to get a forceful, different kind of S sound, you put that P in front of it, you get ps, ps, right? So psyche, 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 psyche. So what's that, the onomatopoeia? It's the sound of someone breathing. Sounds a little like Darth Vader, but and then if you look at the other Indo-European language families, this is a similar thing, right? So my contention is that all Indo-European languages, the word soul basically sounds like someone breathing or uttering a last breath or a surprise breath. So what's a good one? So psyche, psyche. In Latin, there are two. One is anima, from which we get the word animation, animal, animated, and spiritus, from which we get the word spirit, but also the word respire, which means to breathe back and forth, right? Inspire, breathe in. Conspire, breathe together. Okay, so you have anima and spiritus. And then we can go a little farther over Sanskrit, which is one of the main language families in India, or the main languages in India. That word has the word Atman as the word for soul. And to show how so many of these words are interrelated, so many of these languages are interrelated to each other, that word Atman, which is actually the word for soul in Sanskrit, is directly related to the word atmosphere, right? Atmos in Greek. So an atmosphere is literally the sphere, the place of breathing, right? So Atman, Atmos in Greek, right? Atman in Sanskrit and Atmos in Greek. And that really kind of brings to mind the idea that the ancients, or the original people interacting with each other, coming into terminology to describe, believe that what made something alive was that it breathed, it had a life breath. And something without a life breath, something that's not breathing, is not animated, it's not spirited, it has no psyche, right? It has no soul in it at the moment. You see this very quickly, in the sense that one of the ways that we determine if someone is is dead, right, is to check their breath. And even in a hospital where you're kept on a breathing machine, if the only thing that's keeping you alive is that the machine is forcing your body to breathe in and out, you're no longer alive, really. So we really want to kind of think about, what does this say then about assumptions of human nature that we once had, that we are these beings, right? So on the one hand, the soul becomes this ultimate expression of who we are, and we actually even have the idea that it goes on beyond our life. This is a very Greco-Roman / Judeo-Christian idea that the soul goes beyond life. But there's no way to know whether that's true or not. And if the soul is actually a description of the sound of our exchange, of breathing in and breathing out, of taking the world in and giving it back something to the world, and especially how that relates to our language. That's a really important kind of idea, that life is exchange. Life is an energy exchange. And that's hidden, actually, in our words, in our language. It's not that, because we'll go and we'll say that. So now, in later languages like German and English, words like Geist, which is related to the word ghost in English. Geist is the German word for spirit or mind. Geist is like one of those exclamations of the intake, right? So ghost, Geist, and then soul itself as a Germanic, Anglo-Germanic word, is almost like a last breath. Soul, right? So these are, let's think about how human beings, like all beings, are beings that make exchanges with the world in order to survive. And if the exchanges are properly focused, notice that most contemplative traditions, whether you're, across the world, but especially Indo-European ones, every one of them, Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, they all focus on controlling breath when you really want to enter a state of reflection, state of meditation, right? And learning about, in a sense, to control this exchange in and out. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. There's a lot of really good stuff in this chapter that I think y'all will find quite interesting. Focus in on things like Plato's notion of the three parts of the soul: the reason, the emotive or aggressive part, the rational part or intellectual part, the emotive or aggressive part, and then the appetitive part. I have to do appetite. The appetitive part, right? So that we have appetite, emotion or aggression, intellection or reason, and that these things have to be harmonized with each other, right? And one of the way to harmonize those things is to begin the process of learning the flow of breath. Okay, so pay some attention to that idea. Also pay attention to how Darwin kind of turns a lot of these things on its head, how existentialists and feminists challenge our basic ideas of human nature, especially the notion of some kind of self that would live past life, past living. And I'll see you hopefully later today on the Mind Walk. Remember, if you have any questions about any of the concepts or any of the materials, email me. If it's something that needs to be addressed in the Mind Walk, I'll address it. If it's just some other kind of like technical issue or whatever, I will be happy to help out or at least point you in the right direction of tech support. And if it's about your grade or you're having some kind of a personal issue and you need to talk to me, then certainly email me. We'll set up a time and we'll have a face-to-face. Tranquility and goodness. Tranquilitas et bonum vobiscum.